My name is Pete Wright, and my wife and I are the co-owners of the Wrightslaw.com website, and we have published a number of books about special education law and advocacy. I'm an attorney. My area of expertise is special education. I've been an attorney since 1978, about the same time when the special ed law really first came into being. This video is about organizing the file. Organizing the file is one of the most difficult tasks for parents and attorneys and advocates, and yet it is one that must be done very early on. So I'm going to show you how to do it. First, this is based on Chapter 9 in our book, From Emotions to Advocacy. I'm going to scroll over to that. We'll take a look at the From Emotions to Advocacy book. The table of contents right here. This is some of the information in the table of contents. Let me zoom in a little bit, so if you want to stop and scroll through it, you may. So I'll go down to the next page. Crisis will always happen. Organizing the file. This is what we're going to be talking about today, the file. And then there's more in this book, test and measurements and smart IEPs, a little bit about the law. And then the importance of creating paper trails, learning how to write good evidence letters, and specifically what we refer to as the letter to the stranger, and then preparing for meetings, taking control, maintaining control, and then summing it all up. So this is the first page of Chapter 9, the file, do it right. Each one of our chapters open with a quote, do the hard jobs first, the easy jobs will take care of themselves. So you'll see a little bit about what is in Chapter 9, and then I'm going over to Chapter 22 and Chapter 3, 22 and 23. Chapter 22, 23, 24 will come up later, but one of the key themes is if it was not written down, it was not said. If it wasn't written down, it did not happen. So 22 is about creating paper trails, and in Chapter 23, we have how to write good evidence letters, and Chapter 24 is all about the letter to the stranger, and sample letters in Chapter 23. And then the letter to the stranger. So we saw the beginning of Chapter 9 already. Do the hard jobs first, the easy jobs will take care of themselves. So why do you want to have an organized file? Well, first, by having it organized, it makes it easy to find things quickly. At the same time, when you go to a meeting and you have a neat, well-organized file, it creates a very positive, favorable impression, and you only have one chance to make a good first impression. And have you ever seen a school district with a neat, well-organized file and the ability to find a document within a matter of a couple of seconds? Does not happen. But yes, you will be able to do that. Once you have the complete file in chronological order and you have what we refer to as your master document list, which will be the subject of another YouTube video, you'll be able to find any document quickly. But the real value of getting the file neat and organized in chronological order is your child's strengths and weaknesses will jump out at you, and you will really see what it is that you need to do to give your child the best chance to become an independent, self-sufficient, functioning member of society. When you get the file organized, you're less anxious, you're more confident, you're in control. Well, do you have a right to your child's file? What is it that you have a right to? All right. That is addressed in what is known as FERPA, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, in 20 U.S.C. 1232 subsection GA1A, and in the Law Book, Chapter 9. FERPA is not specific to IDEA or a 504 child, but for all children. It provides a 45-day window to provide the file, but you're not entitled to documents that are in the sole possession of an individual and not shared with others. So let's take a look at the Special Ed Law Book. This is the cover of the law book. That's me when I argued the Carter case before the Supreme Court. And very quickly, the table of contents here. So if you want to look at this a little slower, you can just hit the pause button. Chapter 5 is the complete statute. Chapter 6, the complete special ed regs. 504 is in the book. No Child Left Behind. This is the key one for our purposes. FERPA, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, which begins on page 307. We have the overview of the Supreme Court cases and actual text of the Supreme Court cases. So now let me go to Chapter 9. This is Chapter 9, Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And you'll see that the key phrase actually is not the child's file, but it's education records. So that's the word that you'll want to be using, is education records. So here's a discussion about the statute, and then this is the actual statute right here in page 309 of the law book. So education records, the words that you want to use in your letter requesting the file. Now, what does that mean? What do you want? You want everything. You want everything out there, including all the evaluations, all of the IEPs, the test protocols. Are you entitled to copies of the test protocol? Yes, you are. And that, like the master document list, that's going to be the subject of a separate YouTube video. Very interesting legal developments over the past few years with regard to your right to the test protocols. And we have a copy of a case on our website about that I will discuss in the later YouTube video. So how do you organize your child's file? You get a copy of everything from everywhere. And we have sample letters in chapters 23 and 24 of our Affirmative Motions to Advocacy book. I showed those chapters to you a few minutes ago. In chapter 23, we talk about letters. There are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. Yes, it's not easy. It is going to be hard, but you have to do that for the benefit of your child. You have to master the art of writing nice, neat, professional-looking letters, including the concept of the letter to the stranger. So that chapter talks about you're writing a letter, and if it's lost in the street and found by a stranger, will a stranger really understand what it is that you want, why, and want to go to bat on your behalf? And we open that with a quote, "If you would persuade, you must appeal to interest rather than intellect." Now, I actually looked at it a little differently. In my opinion, if you would persuade, you must appeal to emotions rather than intellect. If the individual with the power to give you what you want emotionally is feeling your pain or leaning in your direction, then they will use intellect to justify their emotional response. So again, as I said, your letters should look professional, and I will have a YouTube video about using Word to create professional looking letters. Now, you request the file, and do you get it? So often, no, you don't. Many times you'll have to write a second letter, and yet that letter should be nice and pleasant. Reference that you did write previously, attach a copy of that letter, and these should be letters, not email. Yes, you can do an email, but also do the letter, convert it to a PDF document, and attach it to your email, but also snail mail the letter. That has marketing value and has far greater persuasive value. Okay, so now the documents, the education records, the files, they're coming in. So as they come in, and you've already got a batch, you're going to have duplicates, most likely, but merge them all together. So you're going to end up having a large pile, maybe a box. Your child's file should not have as a part of it the homework assignments, quizzes, articles about the law, or even articles about your child's disability. They're not a part of your child's master file. But don't, especially the homework assignments and the quizzes, don't throw them away. Keep them in a separate box or a separate folder. Now, be careful. As they come in, you're going to want to start reading them and going through them. Don't do that. Don't do that. Instead, just keep the stack intact. Why do you not want to stop and read? Because what's going to happen is you're going to have emotional feelings as old events and memories come back. Now, some of the documents will be merged. For example, you might have an IEP that might have the IEP as the first document, but included as a part of that is the consent to evaluate the child. Then it's the evaluations themselves. There might be 2, 3, 4 evaluations and so forth. So it really is a number of documents that takes the appearance of one document. How do you deal with that? You treat that IEP and additional attachments as a single document. You also separate it and make copies of the other documents so that you will have really the IEP really very thick, and you're going to have an IEP that is just an IEP. You're going to have individual evaluations with different dates. So it's really going to result in a little bit of extra work, but it's necessary to do it that way. Now, once you have everything, be sure each document is stapled. And have your staples nice and neat, because with some of them, well, not with some of them, probably with most of them, as you'll understand later on, you're going to need to unstaple them. I do recommend scanning documents in, but that'll be a part of the master document list video. So get them all stapled together individually. Otherwise, you're going to have a mess when everything gets tipped over and falls on the floor. Again, over and over I repeat this, do not stop and read or analyze the documents. Now, I did tell you previously, I'll tell you again, the master file should be the IEPs, evaluations, and correspondence, but not information about the law, the child's disability, homework quizzes, classroom tests. So once everything is stapled, you have got just a number of documents, maybe 100, maybe more than that, maybe a big box, maybe several boxes. Don't try to get them organized at that point. Simply take the first document that's on the top of the stack and with a pencil, date it in the lower right-hand corner of the first page. Very gently. Let me give you an example. This is the first page of a psychoeducational evaluation of a child, and you'll see as I zoom in there, in the lower right-hand corner, we dated it 1/13/2011. So that's all you do, but in that instance I did it with a black pen so you could see it, but I want you to do it with a pencil very gently. Just date the first page of each document in the lower right-hand corner. Make it legible. Don't go fast. Be neat about it, recognizing you may have to erase it later on. Usually the date's going to be obvious and on the first page. Use that date. Sometimes you'll see several different dates, such as progress report that was done January 1, and then over on the next page it was updated to February 1 and so forth. So use the very last date if you have multiple dates in the document. Some evaluations will have a date of testing and also the date was written. In that instance, I use the date of testing, but then I will circle on the face page the date that the testing was done and the date of the report. So it'll be obvious, especially where we have perhaps a 3-month passage of time between the test date and the report date. Again, don't stop and read the documents at this point. Just date the documents. Go all the way through the stack. Don't worry about getting them in order. Just locate the date, put it at the bottom of the first page in the lower right-hand corner. You have just one mission right now: date the documents. As you're doing this, and you put a date on a document, you'll have a flashback that you remember this exact same document. 15 documents ago, you saw the same one. And you'll be inclined to go find that. No, do not do that. Just date the document in front of you and continue on. Don't determine if one of them is better than the other and if they are duplicates. Just date it and move on. You have one mission right now, simply to date the documents, and that's it. Otherwise, emotions are going to kick in and you'll get sidetracked. If you have, let's say, 3 dates: date of the evaluation, date it was dictated, date it was printed, signed, and mailed, what date do you use? Well, when you have that, then as I mentioned earlier, I'll circle the different dates, and usually we'll use the date of the actual testing. But if that evaluation has testing on one date, but then in the body of the report makes reference to some other things that have happened since the test date, then I'll use the date of the document. This is about the only time you'll need to slow down and skim a document. Some of your documents will be in the landscape horizontal format. 95% will be vertical portrait. So this is what the document looked like in the standard landscape progress report. And if we then rotate it to the left, you'll see that the date is on the lower right-hand corner. So that is how you will want to structure it when you come across a horizontal landscape document. Rotate it to the left counterclockwise and then date it in the lower right-hand corner. You have a large pile of documents, and you will now just go through each one and put it with the proper year. Do not bother sorting the year. As you do this, you will come across duplicates. Set them aside. Don't include them with that stack for the year. Now go back to the very first year, let's assume it was 2005, and sort each one of those documents in chronological order. The oldest on top, the most recent on the bottom. So the first one would be January 1, and the very last one would be December 31. And sort them all in chronological order. Now, some of the years might be very large, and you may find it almost labor intensive. And when I have a large stack like that for a particular year, first I sort them into the quarter years, January 1 through March 31, April 1 through June 30, etc. So I'll break it down into 4 piles and then put each pile in chronological order. Then I will merge the piles together. So again, the oldest is on top and the most recent is on the bottom. So now you have been through every single document, and it is with a particular year, and all years have been put into chronological order, and you have set aside the duplicates, however. So with the duplicates now, you will want to take a look at them, and assuming that each document is identical of the duplicates, just take the one that is most readable and put it into the master stack and set the other one aside. Sometimes, however, what appears on its face to be a duplicate is not. Sometimes one of the documents might have some additional signatures that were not on the one. For example, the one that the school sent you only had 3 signatures, but later when you requested a file from the school, it had 5 signatures. Sometimes names were whited out, and then when they were photocopied, the names were missing or dates were changed. Alterations to documents sometimes are deliberate for an improper purpose. Other times it is someone doing something that they thought was simply proper housekeeping, and it really has no great significance at all. Well, when I do come across 2 documents that on their face appear to be duplicates but in fact are not, and there's an alteration or even forgeries of signatures or things of that sort, then I will include each one of them in the master file. I will use the one that the school sent to me as the first one, and then the other one as my second one. And I did have my very first due process hearing, I did have something like that happen where the child attended a school and then later transferred to another, and the first school sent a lot of recommendations that the child should be evaluated for learning disabilities and other kinds of things. And when I got the exact same document from the receiving school, that page had none of that information. It had been very carefully whited out and re-photocopied. And I saw a very obvious alteration, so I included both documents. The first one in the order was the one, when we had a due process hearing, was the first one was the one that the public school sent me, the altered document. The second one was the one that was the original one, and no one noticed it in the hearing until I was doing cross-examination on the director of special ed. And actually was a school psychologist, and asked him, I simply said, I said, now take a look at Exhibit 75, and you recognize that and tell us what it is. Now look at 76. It appears to be identical. Yes, I believe it is. Now look at the second page of that exhibit. And then silence and then gulping. And I said, now refresh my memory. Were you the person that whited those documents, whited those words out, or was it the director of special ed? Oh, it was the director of special ed. And when was that? Oh, we did that about 3 weeks ago. He did it actually, but I was there with him. And then the director of special ed, later on cross, I asked him the same question. Of course, he blamed the school psychologist. But needless to say, the hearing officer then didn't believe either one, and we won the case. And it was my first due process hearing, and it was quite significant. Then there's another case, and it's on our website. It went all the way up to the Court of Appeals, where there were dates added in and signatures added. And all of that came about because we had been through the file, and we did not say anything at all at any time until the actual hearing took place. Okay, continuing on. You've got the file neat and well organized. Next step will be creating your master document list, and that's going to be the subject of another YouTube video, and I'm going to give you a demonstration as to how to create the table in Word in that YouTube video. If you want to be notified of future videos as we upload them to YouTube, please click on the YouTube Wrightslaw channel subscribe button just below this video. We have a free online newsletter, comes out once a week, and if you'd like to subscribe to that, please go to our website, and it's in the left-hand corner of the first page. And I hope you have enjoyed this, and please send us your comments. Thank you, and that concludes this video.